Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to show how you can integrate PhonePe system in your Laravel application. So I have built it in Laravel 10, but you can use any kind of Laravel that is not, the code is not prior to any Laravel version exactly. So I was working in a project and I have to integrate PhonePe. So I was thinking that how it would be good to make a video of this integration exactly. So I have created a small demo model for this exactly. So you can see I have to pay 1000 rupees and I have the pay amount, and I have also a refund view as well. Okay, so first coming to the payment segment. Okay, so if I click on this pay, now see what I have done exactly, then we'll jump into the code. Okay, it's very easy exactly, nothing tough here. Just submit, and I do not want to save anything, confirm, and it will just go and give you the results. Okay, so here is the response from the from this payment exactly. So you can see the payment is successful, payment has been successful, the transaction ID is this, the transaction. Now if you go to the PhonePe API, and if you open the PhonePe API, okay, you can see this is what we are using, the PG standard checkout. And if you click on the pay section, you can see all these details over there. Now obviously when there are different steps in this that is involved, the UI callback, obviously the server callback, the status check, and the refund. We will come one by one. Okay, so this tutorial will going to help you for the entire integration of the PhonePe using the Laravel. And obviously you can use it as PHP as well. It is not bounded to Laravel as well. In fact, we are using the curl, so you can use it in any of this PHP segment. So as you can see, it has given you all the details and verification, the content type. And if you go through the documentation, there are a lot of details in this documentation that need to be covered out, and I have covered out everything. So I will cover one by one on those things. This index, this salt, all things are important here. So you can see all the information has been given over here. Now if you go to my page and copy this merchant transaction ID, you just copy it out. If you go and paste it in refund, you will get the refund payment segment as well and the payment status. Okay, so the refund is also working on your transaction. Okay. Now let's jump into the code and see what we have written, and then we will follow the documentation with that code as well. If you go to the my Laravel project, I have created a very simple controller. This is my first controller exactly, and I have written all the code that I'm using on the production unit server with the test credential here exactly. Now if you go to my route segment, you can see there are a lot of routes. One thing to remember here is that you have to execute these routes without the CSRF token, so that is very much important, and I have put in all my routes in exception of the CSRF token. So that may be a problem, so you can overcome this problem. This has taken me a lot of time to figure out, because sometimes posting was not working with PhonePe. That is why you have to put this exception over here. Now I will come into one by one route. So the first is the root route, which you have seen exactly. So that is the route. Now if you go to that function exactly, you can see that I have a very simple function. The res data is telling that this is something and you have to pay, and this is the refund page, this is the index page actually. Now if you pay init, this is the first payment initialization function exactly. this is the pay function, exactly the pay one, and you can see this is the exact array that was given in the documentation here on the top. If you scroll down a little bit, there, yes, it is an object, you have to convert it into an array. It's as simple as that. Okay, now if you see, there are two redirect URL and callback URL. One thing to notice is that these are very important. One thing to notice is that the redirect URL and the callback URL, the callback URL should be always in post. It cannot be in the get format. If you are doing separate URL, that should be in post, okay, or any. If you are using different URL, then that would, suppose someone wanted to show a thank you page when it is done or in the mode of payment. That thank you page is a redirect URL that is going to the thank you page. The callback URL is the payload that is sent by the PhonePe on this URL. Exactly. So you can catch the data and update your database from this URL. So in my case, I have put in two of the same thing in a same place. The mobile number is a demo number, obviously the UID. I want unique and transaction ID, so I used UID. You can use. Now I have, first of all thing is that I have encoded the whole JSON value and then base 64. This is what it is telling that here. The request format, you can see the formulation is here, exactly. This is the formulation. Okay, so SHA 256 base 64 encode payload. So this is the payload, exactly. Now you can see the payload is JSON encoded and it is base 64. Now I have used one function internally. This is the salt key and index key. I have taken it from the environment file. This is not my original salt key and index key. These are demo things, but still I have put it in the environment variable so that it can be. So you are always creating this environment variable when we are doing production unit work, exactly. So you can find the keys here, one and this one. Okay, so these are the same key. I've just bring it back from here. And the pay segment, so I am making this formulation over here to generate the checksum, and that checksum is the final output. Now I have used the self payment curl library, where you can obviously use this library and make the payment. You can also use normal curl to make the payment. I will go both of by them. Okay, so you can see I have used another function payment with the curl library. So let us move to that segment. You can see the curl library I'm using, and the curl library I am using is that computerization, and you can see this is the curl library I am using. You can also use this. This is the much noticeable curl library all of us using. It has something like popular one. Okay, so this is the curl library you can use on this, and you can see I have made the request to the server endpoint. You can see the endpoint is on the top where it is written. This is the endpoint, UAT API URL, obviously. And now the application type JSON, the verification code, the request, and the encoding. And I have put in a debugging file also in this curl library so that I can debug. If you go to the public, go to the test, you can see it is generating the debugging of that code. Now the thing is that I call this and get the response from where I get a data, and I get an instruction response and get a redirect info and the URL, and that is the URL from where you can get it. You can also do RDD over here like this and see the payload, what is happening here. You can definitely do that and see the payload. It will have the details of the transaction, and it will obviously have the URL that I'm using to redirect. I have also put in a normal curl sample as well there, So I'm not using the library here, I'm using the normal call. How you can send it by the normal call, you can also get it there. So these are the two functions, but I am using the first one. So it goes and go to the payment gateway page, and after the payment gateway page has been done, it is returning to my return URL. This is where I get the return. Exactly, this is from where I get the status return after successful payment. So the payment is successful, the merchant ID is not blank, the transaction ID is not blank, and the request preference reference ID is not blank. Then I am getting the status of that request by the merchant ID and the transaction ID, and you can see if you get the UI callback, this is what I'm getting. Exactly, this is the response code, the code I'm getting here. Exactly, code, the merchant ID, obviously the transaction ID. It will match inch by inch with the documentation. The amount I also get, the refund. If you want any kind of amount checking validation, that also you can put in here. So I have prepared this code as if you can do any kind of operation, and I have also put a DB operational place over here where you put the DB stuff. So after validation you can update your database and all those stuff going on over here. Now I have again used that library. I have just passed the URL, the final checksum. This is my checksum. So checksum for response is also the same as the checksum request. Just generating the checksum from here. Okay, and now merchant ID and transaction ID are there. Yeah. Merchant ID and transaction response. Merchant ID and transaction ID and response, and returning the string. Exactly. Just below this, I have written that. Okay. So that you get, and after that you get the response, and that is the response you see over here. Exactly. Now one thing I have to tell, I have also prepared a function called payment callback. If your data is different from this one, these two URL are different, then you first one should be the return URL should not contain any kind of operation. It should contain to go to a page where you can see, and this is where the callback URL should have all this information. The callback URL, this is very important. This is the callback URL should have all the information, and you can check the status from here. So when that code would be moved to this one, and this is only going to view the page, thank you page for the payment. But if you put the same thing, you can, after checking this, most of the time we put the same thing. Exactly, in the production or in the live work like this, we put the same thing, and we verify this one, update our database, and then we can give him a thank you page that here your transaction has been successfully completed onto the payment. Okay, now this is where everything has done from the payment side. Now coming to the refund side. In the refund side, there are certain things that I have created all the small function that can help you on creating this. Just use this code and change the whole context to the salt and the keys. It will work for the live part as well. You should change the API keys and the URL to the live one. Now if you go down to the refund section, I have in the refund section I have done both the work in the same function. Exactly, the payment refund. Now payment refund, I have using the salt again. I'm getting the refund transaction ID and transaction ID and merchant transaction ID and original transaction ID. But the original transaction ID is a reverse version of the transaction. It's the reverse version of the transaction. So I'm mounting this back, and route is this one. Okay. So now if you go to this encoding part, you can also see that I have a refund functionality written over here. This API should be refund only. Okay, this API should be refund only. That is the only change in the checksum value that you have to do. and this is the refund. Now you can go to the refund function exactly, and you can generate the refund checksum value x very final value encoding type, and that would give you the response of the refund that is in my response data, and the status obviously of the status. I have also bring out the status of the transaction. So the status, this is the state. You do not have to do that. If you want, you can do that. If you do not want, you do not have to do that. This is just the status of that payment transaction. So if you go, you can bring back the data and the response data status obviously. Now I have a payment refund callback also, that is here. If you pass a different callback API, sometimes it's refunded back to this URL, maybe in the production unit. So I have kept that in this place exactly. Now this is the entire code for the PhonePe integration with the Laravel, and obviously I have covered each and every aspect, like the refund, the status update, with the curl library. I think this is all good for you to go ahead and test it, use it, and if you like the code, do subscribe to my channel, exactly, and it will help me a lot. Use this code and do it yourself, so it would be good for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like my video, do subscribe to